You are 42 years old. You manage a team, pay taxes, and navigate the daily demands of your career with confidence. You're perfectly functional. Then a minor stressor hits. Your partner raises their voice over a misunderstanding, or a colleague points out a small error in your report. For some, that capable professional vanishes. You might feel chronic anxiety, an overwhelming urge to people-please, or explosive anger. Internally, you curl up, bracing for impact. Curious, why does a highly competent, rational adult suddenly react to an everyday stressor like a helpless 7-year-old? Psychologists call this mechanism a contamination. The grounded adult self is sidelined, replaced by the raw, unfiltered emotional responses of a wounded child. Recognizing these contaminations is the first step toward regaining emotional control. To do that, we can look at the structured protocols within Schema Therapy. To understand why these patterns persist, we have to look at how children learn. They constantly observe and mimic caregivers to figure out how to process complex emotions. If those early emotions are met with neglect, if a child is told to stop crying, or if their feelings are dismissed as dramatic, they learn that expressing themselves is unsafe. Lacking the tools to process this rejection, children rely on a primary survival mechanism. They push these confusing, painful emotions down to remain functional in their environment. These feelings morph into silent sentinels, remaining active beneath the subconscious to guard overwhelming memories. Over time, the sensitive inner child is hidden behind a thick protective mask, a necessary adaptation to an invalidating environment. These childhood adaptations form a hidden blueprint. They dictate our adult emotional responses, making us vulnerable to specific triggers later in life. In adulthood, an external trigger, a person, a specific tone of voice, or a tense situation, can unconsciously mirror the unsafe environment of our youth. This trigger often bypasses adult logic entirely. It activates a biological and neurological response that was hardwired decades ago. An internal clash begins. An internalized critical parent voice activates first, projecting blame or distorted thinking onto the current moment. The triggered inner child responds with intense fear, while an activated inner teenager might feel a sudden surge of rage and frustration. This chaotic internal dialogue is the engine behind the explosive outbursts or sudden withdrawals we see in our daily lives. A disproportionate overreaction is frequently an unmet childhood need surfacing, finally demanding the attention it lacked years ago. Clinical practice offers a way out through limited reparenting. This is the process of the competent adult consciously taking back control from the wounded child. The first step is to pause during a trigger. Instead of reacting physically, you step back and observe your internal self-talk without judgment. Then you visualize the inner child. You determine their approximate age in that moment and identify the specific support they lacked in the past. This allows you to step in as the adult you once needed. You provide the safety and reassurance yourself, saying, "I hear you. You are safe. I've got this." Once the immediate tension has faded, you can create a safe space through journaling or mindfulness to process the underlying emotion. Returning to our office scenario, the professional pauses and takes a grounding breath. They recognize the contamination for what it is. By identifying the source of the stress, the adult maintains their composure. They can then state their limits and clearly communicate a boundary that fits the current situation. We cannot rewrite the events of our past. But through reparenting, we ensure our inner child never has to face the world alone again.